Hi. So, have you ever seen someone in need and at that moment you just wish you had more to give? Maybe you have wanted to be a big giver and your heart can just ache for people who are suffering and you just wish you could do more about it and have a bigger impact in the world. If that's so, then this video was made for you because we're going to talk about how you know if you are being set up for more and what to do when it starts happening. So stay tuned. Hello, my name is Kathy and welcome. On this channel, this is where women get together to share about peace and prosperity in order to grow and live a life in abundance. So whether you are that big heart to give, and maybe even more specifically, you might be a Christian wanting to bring relief to others suffering, both by providing for people's physical needs as well as sharing the good news of what God's word says, that he loves people. So if that's you, then this video has found you for a reason, and I hope you'll stay with me to the end because today we're discussing the wealth transfer. So maybe you've heard of people talking about the wealth transfer. Maybe you are totally on board with it, but maybe like me, at some point you'd heard about it, but you weren't really sure what it meant or what it's truly for. And so that's what we're doing today. But I don't just want to talk about economics. I would much rather just bring it down to where we are first, and then we can tie it to the rest of the world, because it just makes more sense when we really know how it affects our life as well as those around us. So let's start with what your experience with money has been lately. Mm, are you feeling better about it, worse about it? Maybe a little bit of both. That's where I was too, because honestly, it seemed really weird that I could tell I was working hard. I could tell that I was bringing money in, I was making money. The numbers in the bank account would change, but I really didn't ever feel any richer. And after a while, I thought that something is totally off. Why would I have more money but feel more and more behind? Over time, I actually ended up studying it and I realized that's because something is fundamentally changing. And before it might have been something we could ignore, but now it's getting so big we can't ignore it. And what is it? It's actually inflation, and it's worldwide, because globally, money is getting less valuable. Why? Well, now even governments are having trouble paying their bills, their loans, right? They spent too much money, like teenagers with a credit card. And now that the creditors are saying, hey, you got to pay it back, they're like, oh my gosh, we're scrambling. So they start printing money because they can do that. And that's a little bit easier than raising taxes, right? But there's a side effect to that. And even though I'm in the US and it's happening here, it's almost every country in the world, because almost every country in the world has debt-based policy, money that they can print, even if they don't actually have the value of it somewhere. So what happens when that occurs? This is probably the end of our economics lessons, but when governments print more money, that means the bills that already are in existence and the new bills that show up actually hold less value. Almost as if you had a raffle ticket and there were 10 raffle tickets and 10 prizes, that means everyone's going to get a prize, right? But if there were 100 raffle tickets, but still only 10 prizes, that means each raffle ticket may only possibly have a 10% chance. There's a less likely chance for it to get a prize. So the value of each ticket is less valuable, right? Well, that's happening to our money. And so maybe that's why our bank account could be going up, but what we can buy actually going down. And this is happening around the world. If you're in a Western country like I am, if it's happening to us and we're feeling squeezed, imagine what it's like in countries that already started with less than we have. Even when sometimes we might think that we don't have enough, on the bigger picture, if we have food, clean water, or a place to live, income, when you have those basic needs met, you may actually be much wealthier than you think you are. With what's going on in the world, we might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable, but maybe we're also seeing how other people in the world are even suffering more than us. We realize we actually have more than many, more than most, and want to help those that are less fortunate. You're probably already giving what you can. And yet, maybe in your heart, you're still wishing you had more to give. So, first, let me say that I am so glad you're here because your heart is special. Not everybody has that willingness to give. So, that makes you already stand out. But I also know how hard it is where when you want to be able to give, but you feel limited in your own finances, especially when possibly you might see others, whether on Instagram or other people who just seems like they have so much more. And yet you might see them spend it frivolously or they're just unwise with their finances. And sometimes when that happens, you're thinking, man, if some of that money could come to me, I would use it to help other people in the world. And that feeling might even sit heavy on your heart sometimes, so much so that it feels like your soul is crying out to the universe, put more in my hands so that I can be good to people. If that's you, then I have good news for you because I believe this moment isn't random and that you are supposed to hear this video right now. Why? Because maybe what I just described is actually a sign that you are being prepared to handle abundance. Why? Because there's a saying that says the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. It's from Proverbs 13:22. And that doesn't mean that people can just say, I go to church and therefore God should give me $1 million. That's not what it's saying. Here's a caveat. Not everyone who says that they want to give will be part of the wealth transfer. Why? Because there's also another saying that my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's God saying that he would want his people to understand wealth. And the wisdom helps us be able to handle the wealth because even though lots and lots of people say, I just want to be wealthy, when they don't have the wisdom, that wealth could crush them because the weight of it can be hard. How do we know? Because the lottery, people can play the lottery, win it, have millions and millions of dollars showered upon them. And then did you know that almost 80% of the people, so vast majority, are more broke 5 years after they win the lottery than when they got it? Why? Because they got the wealth without the wisdom. You've probably heard it with NBA players or NFL players who make millions of dollars in a single year and yet end up on hard times. And God does not want that for his people. So if you're one of those big-hearted people, you're like, I want to have more to give. That's sign number one. It's in your heart already. But number two is, am I willing to get the knowledge, the wisdom, to be one that knows how to handle it, to be a good steward and be able to give it back away? to the appropriate place at the appropriate time. And that is the wealth transfer. It is not about greed. I want money. I should take his money because he's not doing something good with it. No, no, no. That's not what it is. The wealth transfer is because the world is getting really hard for almost everybody. And God doesn't like watching people suffer. That's why you don't like it. And so God's made a provision. He's already planned it ahead of time because this wealth transfer has been spoken of for millennia. That when the world is getting really, really bad and hard, God's going to make it that he's going to transfer this wealth from the wicked into the hands of those who are righteous. And that may be you. And that is going to be the true wealth transfer. And it's happening in many, many ways. So right now, if you know that urge of giving has been in your heart, maybe you're part of the wealth transfer. If maybe you've been wanting to try to understand wealth and finances more, that's another sign. Maybe you're part of the wealth transfer. And if you start becoming one of those who are like, you know what? I'm willing to learn. I'm ready to be responsible for great wealth because I want to help people. Then maybe what's going on now is a test. If your finances are kind of hard and you're feeling the squeeze of it, maybe it's a test. Because I want you to think about it this way. The best athlete in the world does not show up to like a championship game, or a singer does not show up to just stand up on stage without first practicing. So maybe these experiences that you've had, if you've had experiences related to finances and maybe some loss, and maybe experiences of wanting to give more, could that be practice? Could that be signs and your practice of how you would show up when you get a windfall, right? Because God does not need to see what you do because he already knows you. He knew you from the beginning till the end. He wants you to know you, want you to know that, yeah, I've got the wisdom to be able to handle this. I have the character to hold myself up because you've seen some people just go wonky with lots of wealth. He's testing the hearts, not just because he needs to know, but because we need to know what's in our heart and how to do it in a way that will bless others and ourselves the most. So if you've been looking around and you've been noticing nations are drowning in debt, families are struggling, and inflation is hitting everyone so that everyone is being stretched thin, I believe that God is calling his people like a relief team. Because if the governments are in debt, they no longer have the capacity to have the extra to help others. And that is why God is calling his people up, going to bring the wealth transfer into their hands. Why? Because people are going to have needs. And it is God's people that will be able to have the resources to say, hey, let me help you. And there is good news for not just that I can give you something today, but that even tomorrow there will be hope in your heart because now you know that there is a God in heaven who loves you. If you would like to be part of that, then I've got something that will get you pretty excited. So if you're wondering, yes, I want to be part of the wealth transfer, but Kathy, how is God going to get me a truckload of money? And the answer would be, I don't know what he's going to do and exactly the way he's going to do it for you. I do know that the Bible tells us that even when Peter asked Jesus, Jesus said, go catch a fish. And when you do, the first fish that comes, open its mouth, there's going to be gold coins in it to pay taxes for you and me. So God can get provision to you any way he wants to. I would be foolish to say, I know how he's going to do that for you, because I don't want to put any limits on God. I have learned that is not the good thing for me to do. The only thing I can tell you is, for me, it was Bitcoin. And though I didn't know it at the time, I do realize it now. And I'll share that story with you another time. Right now, God does not just want to bless other people, He wants to bless you because He loves you. And He also wants you to have the blessing of enjoying the giving, because then the blessing of your giving not only comes back partly to you in your lifetime, but it can also bless your entire lineage on down the line for generations and generations. So, wanting more, that isn't greed. That might have been growth that God's trying to call you into. And when wealth is used with wisdom, then it can give us the freedom to be more generous, to give more boldly, and to step into that place where life is exciting and we have more than enough, so much that we are able to give. So if you've ever wondered why you feel that urge to give, and even before, when you don't even have as much as you want, maybe it's because you're being prepared for more. So stay faithful in practicing generosity, in getting wisdom about finances. It's for preparation, because as long as you keep your heart open, the wealth transfer may be coming to you, because it's not in the future, it's already in motion. And if your heart gets excited about the prospect of helping others and being one of the vessels that God uses to transfer money into, then this is where He might be calling you to be. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one, where we continue building a life in abundance.